A Florida woman beat out 933 other competitors and was crowned the 2025 Python Challenge champ.
That's her right behind us. Now, she caught 60 Burmese pythons over 10 days out in the Everglades.
Although Florida's marshes appear to be unspoiled nature, new video shows an aftermath that no one anticipated. These waterways are concealing a dramatic tale. From invasive Burmese pythons creeping across the Everglades to vanishing species and unexpected changes in the ecology. A series of ecological upheavals, human encounters, and unexpected conservation lessons are hidden behind what appears to be typical swamp life. The video reveals the unseen effects of disturbance in America's most untamed marshes, in addition to depicting nature. The invasive monster, the Burmese python, is one of the most fascinating and terrifying animals in Florida. These enormous snakes, which are native to Southeast Asia, had no place in the Everglades. But a combination of the exotic pet trade, storms, and unintentional releases led to one of the most spectacular invasions in North America. The history of American fauna. These snakes became established in the marshes by the 1990s. And since then, their population has skyrocketed. The wetland habitat is ideal for Burmese pythons. They can easily mix in with reeds, water, and cypress roots thanks to their camouflage. They can withstand temperature swings, endure weeks without eating, and are formidable predators that can defeat mammals that are much bigger than them. Because of this, once they locate an appropriate home, they are practically unstoppable. Tens of thousands of these snakes are thought to wander the Everglades today. According to biologists, though precise numbers are difficult to ascertain due to their secrecy, the impact on the environment has been astounding. Rabbits, raccoons, and marsh rabbits are examples of small and medium-sized mammals, whose populations have drastically decreased in regions with high python densities. Birds and other animals that live on the ground are also impacted. Predators that typically feed on these mammals suffer as a result of this reduction, which also affects plants that depend on animal seed dispersion. In essence, the invasion of pythons causes ripple effects by upsetting every layer of the ecosystem that researchers continue to map today. Controlling these snakes is a difficult but continuous endeavor. The Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC of Florida, conducts python hunts, provides rewards for removal, and investigates novel methods for monitoring and controlling the population. Understanding their movement patterns and estimating numbers has been made possible by drone footage and motion-activated cameras, such as the ones that captured the effects in recent videos. Even the most vigorous removal efforts, however, are unable to keep up with their quick reproduction and cunning. The invasion by Burmese pythons also serves as a warning about the perils of human carelessness. A large number of these snakes were either released into the wild or used as pets. Exotic animals from private collections were dispersed by hurricanes like Andrew in 1992, inadvertently creating new populations. With plenty of prey and little competition from other top predators, the snakes flourished once they arrived in the Everglades. The Burmese python represents ecological devastation and is more than just a big snake. Its existence demonstrates how vulnerable even large wilderness regions, like the Everglades, may become when exotic species become involved. The outcomes shown in the recent video serve as a clear reminder that everything can be altered by a single species, including plant growth, animal populations, and even the health of waterways. Understanding and managing these snakes is important for maintaining the delicate balance of one of America's most distinctive ecosystems, not just for safeguarding native fauna. However, what follows in Florida's marshes is even more surprising than the pythons. The python disruption, an aftermath more than just viral videos. Footage from Florida's wetlands offers a glimpse into the unanticipated fallout from the Burmese python invasion. The initial sightings were captured by early drone footage, showing snakes crawling stealthily across marshes and mangroves and vanishing almost like shadows. After analyzing these films, scientists were able to track the movements and determine how rapidly the invaders were spreading. The video, which depicted a predator with no natural enemies in the area, aroused both wonder and alarm. Subsequent footage showed human interactions that were occasionally tense and occasionally bizarre. The camera captured every move made by hunters, researchers, and even locals as they crossed paths with enormous pythons, carefully removed them, or just kept a safe distance. These films emphasize the expanding human-wildlife contact and the hidden dangers of residing close to marshes. Drone and time-lapse video also showed ecological shifts, with places that were formerly alive with birds, marsh bunnies, and raccoons suddenly appearing hauntingly deserted. As invading plants changed the terrain, native vegetation appeared lush in some areas and barren in others. The technological monitoring itself was captured on camera, scientists tracking snakes in real time with drones and motion-activated gadgets, providing the public with a unique look at the sophisticated measures being used to contain the invasion. Florida's swamp drama is only getting started with the Burmese python invasion. The effects of these enormous snakes spread across the environment in ways that most people are unaware of. The balance of the marsh has completely altered. It's not just a predator consuming prey. In regions with a high density of pythons, small animals, birds, and reptiles vanish, resulting in cascade impacts that go much beyond any one species. In areas with a high concentration of pythons, researchers have seen sharp drops in bobcats, raccoons, opossums, and marsh rabbits. The impact is similarly severe for birds. The disappearance of prey animals affects even some wading birds and makes it difficult for ground-nesting species to survive. Predators that often rely on mammals and birds, such as foxes, hawks, and bobcats, experience food shortages as these species fall. This sets off a series of events: diminished reproduction, migration, and hunger. The entire predator-prey equilibrium that had characterized the marsh abruptly begins to falter. Soil and vegetation are also impacted. Some plant species lose their primary dispersers when there are fewer mammals grazing and wandering. Over time, the composition of plants changes due to ineffective seed dispersal. In places where grazing used to regulate them, some plants proliferate while others disappear. Uneven thickening or thinning of the undergrowth, altering water absorption, soil stability, and even fire patterns during the dry season. Essentially, the Everglades' physical landscape is indirectly shaped by the python's presence. Another unexpected outcome is hydrology. Water drainage and soil aeration are facilitated by burrowing creatures and small mammals. Particularly in marshes, their reduction might somewhat change water flow, resulting in faster runoff in some places and stagnant pools in others. The ecological fallout is made more difficult by these changes, which have an effect on fish populations, amphibians, and even the distribution of nutrients. Additionally, secondary invasive species profit from this. In places where pythons cause instability, certain non-native fish, birds, and flora flourish. For instance, other invasive predators may take advantage of the hole left by expelled native species, and foreign plants may overrun areas where local flora has suffered. This produces a feedback cycle, whereby the environment is not only disturbed but also undergoes unanticipated evolution, frequently in favor of other invasive species. To comprehend these cascading impacts, scientists mostly rely on video, tracking devices, and camera traps. The mobility of pythons, areas of concentrated predation, and even behavioral adaptations like nocturnal hunting to minimize human intervention are all visible in drone footage. This is complemented by telemetry studies and ground surveys, which provide researchers with a more comprehensive view of how the Everglades is evolving in real time. These natural changes coincide with the human dimension. While changed waterways have an impact on flooding, tourism, and even mosquito populations, disrupted prey populations have an impact on hunting and local food chains. Locals frequently detect changes before scientists do, such as the disappearance of once common creatures, changes in water patterns, and an increase in the frequency of encounters with pythons. In the end, the invasion of pythons is a prime illustration of how one invasive predator may have a cascading effect on an entire ecosystem. Species, vegetation, soil, and water are all disrupted in a chain reaction. The footage of the Florida swamp isn't its proof of an ecological disaster taking place right in front of our eyes. Not simply startling images. Furthermore, the human aspect of the event complicates the aftermath even further if you believed the impact was entirely natural. Human impact, swamps, safety. And surveillance. Florida's swamps serve as a place for people to live, work, and explore, in addition to being home to animals. This interaction has become much more complex as a result of the Burmese python invasion. Although these snakes often stay away from people, residents, hunters, and researchers cannot overlook the risks posed by their size and stealth. Massive, multi-foot-long snake encounters have become more frequent, occasionally resulting in harm or fear. Even though bites are uncommon. The psychological effects are significant, since locals are aware that a predator that may swallow tiny pets or cattle could be hiding beneath the water or plants. A vital component of Florida's economy, tourism, is also impacted. An unanticipated stress is added to what should be a leisurely experience when tourists visiting the Everglades or taking airboat trips are warned about seeing pythons. Raccoons, alligators, birds, fish, and other creatures that attract tourists are also being impacted, which lowers the ecosystem's diversity. Additionally, hunting customs are upset. The balance of predator-prey relationships has altered hunting patterns and regulations, and local hunters now have fewer targets due to the reduction in small game populations. Monitoring and surveillance are now crucial for comprehending and controlling these hazards. Drones, GPS tagging, and motion-activated cameras are used to monitor the population density and movements of pythons. Certain material, such as the widely shared movies of pythons softly creeping through swamps, provides vital information about hunting tactics, habitat preferences, and behavioral patterns, in addition to assisting scientists in controlling the invasion. These technologies offer proof of the ecological impact in action. The extent of the disturbance is demonstrated via footage from isolated locations, which shows once wildlife-rich landscapes that are now eerily silent or overrun by invasive species. The number of pythons is actively managed by humans as well. To stop fresh releases from the pet trade, Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission (FWC) offers educational campaigns, bounty programs, and python eradication hunts. Both experts and volunteers go into the wetlands to get rid of snakes, frequently in hazardous situations. These initiatives draw attention to the moral and practical difficulties associated with human intervention. How can a species be managed without further upsetting the ecosystem? How may environmental necessity and animal welfare be balanced? The human impact involves economic and emotional aspects in addition to safety and environment. The impact on native species, the difficulty of eradicating exotic predators, and the wider environmental ramifications are all directly observed by locals and researchers. Many people feel obligated to preserve the marshes since they are an integral part of their identity and natural heritage. Observing the dominance of pythons and the decrease of native species is more than just a scientific issue, it's a human one. In addition, human activity has contributed to the issue. The consequences of the python invasion have been exacerbated by exotic pets, habitat disturbance, and climate change. The very individuals who are currently attempting to address the problem contributed to the circumstances that made it possible for it to grow. Florida's marshes serve as a living laboratory for learning about invasive species, ecosystem management, and conservation ethics due to the interaction of human and natural influences. In summary, the outcomes depicted in the videos are as much about people as they are about wildlife. It concerns how individuals react, adjust, and take action in a setting that has been abruptly altered by a single invasive predator. Concerns about safety, economic effects, and moral quandaries all come together in the wetlands, serving as a reminder that ecological change rarely affects only plants and animals, but also human populations. Climate change and swamp dynamics, water, heat, and seasonal cycles have historically influenced the Florida Everglades' distinctive ecosystem. However, the regulations are changing due to climate change, which makes life simpler for Burmese pythons and more difficult for native fauna. Winters are no longer severe enough to naturally restrict python survival due to rising average temperatures. These snakes are able to extend their range further north because areas that were previously too cold for them are now excellent hunting grounds. Pythons can be seen in areas that were deemed safe for decades, according to drone and camera footage from formerly uninhabited marshes. The patterns of rainfall are also changing. Long-term droughts cause marshes to dry up, concentrating species in dwindling water pools. This increases the impact of pythons on populations that are already under stress by making it simpler for them to find prey. On the other hand, periods of severe floods compel animals to move, frequently into populated areas, increasing the likelihood of human-python confrontations. Video showing these movements demonstrates how climate variability exacerbates the problem in ways that were not initially apparent to researchers at the start of the invasion. Additionally, vegetation is impacted. In wetter years, some plants flourish while others perish, altering the options for cover and concealment for both predators and prey. Dense greenery helps pythons stay hidden when hunting. In the meantime, native species that depend on particular plants for protection, food, or nesting may find it difficult to adjust to the shifting patterns of vegetation. The video frequently depicts deserted wetlands and altered vegetation, quietly highlighting the unseen effects of climate-related changes. Furthermore, climate change interacts with invading species in unexpected ways. For instance, higher temperatures may speed up a python's metabolism, increasing the frequency of feedings. The expansion of the python population may also be fueled by exotic prey species, such as non-native rodents and amphibians, which may flourish in the new climate. On the other hand, native species that developed under constant seasonal conditions are less able to adapt, which causes their reductions to be more severe. When researchers watch film from the marshes, they see these patterns. Alien species seem to be more prevalent, while places that were formerly teeming with tiny mammals are strangely quiet. In the end, climate change doesn't only promote pythons, it intensifies the marsh's whole chain reaction. Increased human interactions, vegetation changes, hydrological changes, and predator-prey imbalances all interact. With each year that goes by, this dynamic, continuing aftermath becomes more unpredictable. Scientists caution that if climatic trends persist, the Everglades may see a new level of ecological upheaval that would make the current python catastrophe seem insignificant. The video shows lessons about the swamp itself and what it can teach us about resiliency and healing, even beyond confrontations between humans and pythons. Lessons from the swamp. What we can learn from the video, Florida's swamp imagery conveys a tale about resiliency, disturbance, and the delicate balance of ecosystems in addition to documenting wildlife. These movies are teaching scientists and environmentalists more than traditional field surveys could. The video provides an unexpected and educational view into the repercussions by capturing the habits and patterns of Burmese pythons, displaced native species, and the subtle changes in vegetation and rivers. The swamp's true interconnectedness is one important lesson. The impact spread when mammal populations are decimated by pythons. Predators such as alligators and bobcats would have trouble finding food. It affects birds that depend on ground animals for food or seed distribution. As the food chain changes, even plants and insects are indirectly impacted, instead of depending only on sporadic field sampling. Scientists can examine the effects in real time by watching these interactions on video. The behavior of python itself provides another insight. The video demonstrates how versatile these snakes are. They can hunt in water, blend in seamlessly with thick foliage, and even change their behavior patterns to evade people. It is essential to comprehend this flexibility in order to create management solutions that work better. Motion sensor cameras and drone surveys have shown that some pythons hunt more fiercely and travel farther than previously believed, which explains why conventional removal methods occasionally fail. There is also a clear human component. Volunteers, park rangers, and researchers researching the marshes are discovering how human activity impacts both native and invasive species. While native creatures may find it difficult to adapt, invasive species like pythons may unintentionally benefit from changes in water flow brought on by construction, pollution, or recreational activities. Conservationists can make more accurate predictions by integrating film with on-the-ground observations. Which actions will work best and where the environment is most susceptible. The video also imparts observational skills and patience. Swamps are slow-moving, intricate systems that frequently undergo change over years rather than days. Observing the consequences over time demonstrates how the landscape is shaped by interactions between species, reproductive cycles, and environmental factors. It also emphasizes how crucial it is to monitor an environment over an extended period of time, because a quick visit or snapshot cannot fully capture the tale of an ecosystem under stress. Lastly, a more general lesson about human responsibility is emphasized throughout the videos. Pet releases, habitat modifications, and other factors all contributed to the Burmese python invasion, and international commerce. Observing the effects directly highlights how human choices have enduring, occasionally unexpected ecological effects. Removing snakes is only one aspect of conservation efforts. Another is comprehending the system as a whole and averting further disruptions. The swamp footage is essentially a school. It explains how ecosystems react to invasive species, human activities, and environmental change to scientists, policymakers, and the general public. A lesson on persistence, adaptability, and the complex web of life in one of America's most distinctive ecosystems may be learned from every movement observed. Whether it is a python hunting, a raccoon dodging predators, or a marsh flooded differently than previously. Even so, the marshes offer unexpected allies and possibilities that could tip the scales against the pythons, surprisingly beneficial effects and ecological prospects. The aftermath of the Burmese python invasion has uncovered unanticipated prospects despite the devastation of Florida's marshes. Some native species and habitats are exhibiting unexpected resilience, despite the first impact appearing to be solely harmful. The fact that some predators, such as huge raptors and alligators, have started feeding on young or smaller pythons shows that nature is capable of retaliation. Despite their delayed development, these predator-prey dynamics imply that, with enough time and protection, the wetlands might eventually reach a new equilibrium. Additionally, the video offers a special scientific opportunity. Observing pythons hunt, mate, and engage with their surroundings has provided information about their behavior, genetics, and ecological importance that was almost impossible to obtain prior to the development of drones and remote cameras. Researchers may monitor their migration patterns, identify reproductive hotspots, to even investigate how invasive species affect the health of ecosystems or the spread of disease. In some respects, the snakes are teaching scientists more about species relationships, adaptation, and resilience than any controlled lab could. Additionally, there is a bright side for education and conservation. Public awareness of invasive species and the vulnerability of ecosystems is increased by the stunning footage. These films are used by schools, wildlife organizations, and ecotourism organizations to demonstrate the need for preserving native species and their habitats. Florida's marshes become more than just a spectacle of devastation when the issue is turned into a teaching tool, but a public living classroom.